Can you hear me still? I bought a new...
We're live.
Cool.
Over to you.
So, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Aneesa and I came up with this really great idea to do these recordings live. These recordings are audios that are going to go onto our socials and also onto our podcast channels. And the reason why we wanted to do it live is because we wanted people to see behind the scenes how this conversation grows and how we show up as business owners. And as you can see, for us, it's just about being in the room. We can show up in many different ways. Sometimes we're tired, sometimes we excited, sometimes we haven't eaten because some of us are fasting. But we're glad that everybody's in here, can join and see what we do. Yeah, Aneesa, I think for this particular episode, I wanted to unpack this concept of the Rat King. And I shared with you the article that was written. And, you know, we've had a bit of back and forth around this up to the lead up of this recording. And really and truly, it boils down to this terrible concept of getting entangled and carrying unnecessary stuff as a business owner and what it can really do to you and to your business. And I'm sure you can relate.
Of course, I can relate. Every single day and every moment of the day almost gets consumed by it. So yes, I can relate.
Yeah.
Do you want to delve into this, very provocative topic, or the theme of what you're calling it, the Rat King?
Yeah, so the important thing for me is, first of all, the concept behind these podcasts or these recordings or these audios, however you want to phrase it, is to capture the realness behind business ownership. And we are both specialists in the SMME space, but at the end of the day, we're both SMMEs. And both of us, from our journey together and what we've shared with each other, we have been through pretty much all of it at some point in our journey. And the important thing around this session, and if you're listening in at a later stage and you're listening this while you're driving, or you're busy cooking and you've got this on in the background, is to understand that you're not alone. And that is why we unpack these particular topics, because these topics talk to the part of business ownership that not many commercial conversations are having right now. And I felt that the Rat King was spot on. So I was watching this old series that, you know how we watch old series, we binge watch. And they were joking and laughing, and they threw this concept of the Rat King out. And basically, a Rat King is when a whole bunch of rats become entangled through their tails with each other. And they form this kind of bundle of rats. And ultimately, the bad side of this is they generally starve and die. But it actually talks really, really, if you actually ever just go and Google it, it's crazy how it shows up. But I think the importance from a business ownership is everything we carry has some form of weight on us. So what are we carrying? What are we waking up in the morning and taking with us on our journey as an SMME? Are we preoccupying ourselves with, and we can get into this, things that we need to worry about? Or are we carrying what is really important to us so that we don't get weighed down and we don't get caught up and ultimately starve our business? Because I am of the firm belief that a lot of us fail because we struggle as business owners, and we struggle to overcome certain hurdles, hiccups, crossroads, situations that come across our path. And like the Rat King concept, we become entangled, and then we just pull our business down. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, that image is so vivid. I'm
Yeah.
I'm almost placing myself into what are those things that I'm entangled with. It may not obviously be rats and that, but what are my metaphorical rats that I'm entangled with? And there are many. There are many. I mean, reading your article, it speaks to it, and I certainly feel um, entangled and tangled by uh, whether it is fears and doubts, whether it is, am I going to have enough business that is going to cover all expenses at the end of the month? You know, have I got my year sorted? Am I
Mm.
going to cover my, my shortfalls if need be? And if not, what am I going to do? And then there's also the idea of what am I attached to? And I know you and I have spoken many times about this, the attachments. And I think attachments for me is what am I entangled with? So I love the concept that you've brought to the table here, because the entanglement or being tangled or tied with these different rats does ask the question, like, what am I attached to? And what am I holding on to? And where does it come from? Right?
Mm.
So it's lots of questions that one has to ask.
Yeah, I think the big thing is um, sometimes we don't realize we have it. Sometimes we don't realize we're entangled as business owners until it's too late. And entanglement and carrying and constantly processing all this unnecessary, I would like to say, baggage that we carry around with us does affect our business and how we execute our strategy as business owners through the business. And we can kind of see it, we can see it all around us. It's the business owner who never has enough time to talk to you. I'm always busy. I've got things to do. I've got to hustle. I've got to rush. And business ownership is not about that. You and I both have to set time aside to meet business owners so that we can support them with their strategy and with their mindset journey. And often both you and I have experienced business owners saying to us, well, I just don't have time for this. That is carrying something. That is in a way bogging yourself down with a lot of unnecessary things that take up time. So what we got to do, in my perspective, and when I wrote this piece, what I started to do, because prior to writing this, we had 2 very bad months. This month we're in now has been pretty good for us, and it looks like we're circling back. And in that process of doing a very bad month, I thought the same things you raised. What if? What if we don't have enough money? What happens if we don't make this? But at the end of the day, Aneesa, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And it was such a difficult concept for me to land because I'm a believer that you make things happen. That's how life works, right? You go out and you make it happen. You make enough revenue so you can hit the end of the month. But there's a lot of things that come along that if we're not careful, we get entangled in, that pulls us away from that process of making things happen. So the whole idea is we overcomplicate our business space. And we take all this mindset issues that we haven't done with in this past traumas and everything that sits within us, and we pull that across like the Rat King in this whole grouping. We kind of bring it across into our business and we entangle it into our business strategy. And we don't even realize we're doing it. How often have you sat with a business owner that has shown you very little respect, that hasn't come on time, that doesn't pay attention in the sessions? They're getting these sessions sponsored, but they don't even pitch because they don't see value. In general, in life, they cannot identify value. And generally, these business owners are the ones that are schizophrenic in the sense of moving from one business to the other. Then they're closing this and selling that, and then they've got lots of money in the bank and then they can't make month end. So the Rat King was about just stopping and taking stock through looking at your average day and going, what the hell am I doing that for? And since I've implemented a little bit of strategy behind the Rat King, I have a very different day. Very different day. I hardly think, which is strange because I'm an overthinker. It's true.
No, I'm
You're also a
loving it because
thinker. You're also a
no, I'm
thinker.
also, so I'm laughing because that resonates, right? I'm an overthinker at times, and so I've had to also channel my thoughts, my emotions, because it 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 actually runs the show at times. And I've had to get comfortable. I mean, just before we went live, we were talking about being busy, and you were saying it's good to be busy, and I'm like, yeah, it is. But sometimes I question, am I busy just for the sake of being busy because my nervous system tells me that I have to be busy to appear as being purposely productive? And so I've had to allow myself the still moments, but not to think, honestly. So I'm where you are right now because we like to lip service a lot of things. We like to lip service silence is golden, and we must sit, be quiet, and we must do reflections. But when those rats or those entanglements or those traumas or wounds show up, they show up in many forms. Performance, right? For me, it was performance, being busy. I must be busy, or I'm not. My
Yeah.
credibility is not what it should be. Another one for me, Brad, and I don't know if you can relate to this, being very, very active and live on the social platforms. I must show up, right? If I don't show up, I'm going to lose credibility. I'm not going to be seen and heard, and I'm not going to be top of mind.
Mm.
Another thing I used to do quite often
Yeah.
is scream out loud when I've had success. Okay, in fairness, I'm going to own up. I also shout out loud when I'm not doing well.
Yeah,
I
you
haven't had
do.
an issue with vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the most part, my conditioning is I want to celebrate and I want to celebrate loud. And then I had to sit still and ask the question, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Am I seeking credibility? Am I seeking acknowledgement and
Mm.
recognition?
Yeah. The
Because
big
as
why.
business owners, yeah, it's like we want to show up.
Yeah.
We're doing
Yeah.
well. And like I said, even if I show that I'm not doing well and I'm vulnerable, I'm starting to question, why am I doing that? So there's a lot that we actually have to sit within ourselves. And I want to come back to respond to your point around business owners that are just showing up with interest and then they're not committed to the process. And you can see and experience that. And it's so disrespectful, not only to us that are either facilitators or coaches, but to themselves, right? And in fact, even to the people that they're serving, because they are so entangled in everything else, the next best idea, as you mentioned, that they can't take anything to
Mm.
execution or to
Mm.
completion. So it's always
Yeah.
coming up with something new. Or the relationship aspects in those businesses aren't meaningfully connected because the owner, the founder, isn't even meaningfully connected to themselves. So I feel we really
Mm.
have to move and untie these knots, these entanglements, and be real with ourselves in the process and call ourselves out, or find somebody else like you and I, Brad. You call me out often when needed, and I think it's reciprocal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what is fascinating for me, and since I've been on this whole journey, I would like to call it a journey of business enlightenment, is to, because I do believe that spirituality and business are very closely aligned. I think in the past we used to push it aside. And I think that, for now, we need to understand that in order for us to build legacy business, in order for us to show up in a certain way and to live a fulfilled life, we need to become untangled and almost lighten our load. If we're seeing this as a long-term thing, a long-term business, and we are seeing ourselves as business owners, we cannot get caught up with what the world dictates you should look like as a business owner.
I couldn't agree more, because it becomes the performance nature then, right? And it doesn't stay true to who you are. And you talk about legacy. You and I have chatted before. Some people's legacy is not to grow their businesses, that SMME, to a large scale business. So we got to come back to asking real questions again. What is it that you are building? Is this legacy as much to do about showing others on the outside, or is it just being comfortable enough to say you've built something for the purpose of taking care of your family, your immediate family? And do you
Yeah,
want to leave it behind or not? Does it need to be left behind? No. Because if you're
yeah,
connected to why you're doing it, you don't need to be doing more than what is intentionally the purpose. Because we like to do a lot of things. And
mhm,
I mean, I'm
yeah,
asking some of those questions too, Brad. I'm starting to ask those real questions. What do I need to let go of that's no longer necessary? And how does it serve me and the purpose, the intended purpose? Because we take on all these little bits of things because it's again a belief. It's a certain belief that says you have to be busy and be entangled with so many things.
yeah,
What partnerships are no longer aligned? This is about alignment. I think you talked about this being a um, enlightenment journey, and it is a journey. There isn't a destination, but in that enlightenment, there's wisdom that we need to tap into. It. Are we really awake? Are we listening, or are we still in a slumber?
yeah. I just see it every day with the businesses that we work with, and I see it in myself as well as I get older. Somebody was saying to me, did you always want to run a business, like you have now? Um, and I said to them, no, I actually thought at this age I would have, quite a big building, and I would have a couple of hundred staff, and we would be, this massive agency. And they said, why? Why would you want that? And then I had to kind of say to them, because it's status, because it shows muscle, it's because I've succeeded, I've won. And then they said, according to who? And they started asking, well, and this was somebody I hardly knew. They really caught me on the back foot. And I actually, in the beginning, I was so angry with the questions. And then afterwards, I realized that this was divine intervention. And it was to reaffirm the fact that, and this is why I do this particular thing with you, that whether you a florist selling your flowers in Cape Town CBD, you show up every day, you sell your flowers, you make a decent living, you support your family, or you are an SMME or an EME that has created a construction business and you employ 100 people, it is all okay. You are not deemed successful by the vehicle you drive or the home you live in or maybe perhaps the address you take. You are success by showing up as a business owner consistently over the years and creating a space where you can thrive. You don't want a whole lot of other rats with you. you want to just be the only rat, on your own, building your business, living your life, finding your food, supporting your family. But yet we complicate it so much. We create things. Business owners, they want 3 or 4 homes. One home's not good enough. Sell this car, must have that car, must show up like this, must wear this watch. I often speak to young business owners and say, what would you like to earn from your business? And they will say, no, they don't know. Okay, what would you like to buy one day? A BMW. Okay, so you know what you want to buy in terms of kind of an ego thing, but you don't actually know what values in your business. So this is not serious for you because you are looking at the hero badges that I wear to say I'm successful instead of looking at internally what does success mean for me. And that circles back to you will not become entangled with the other rats if you find your own way.
Oh, I love that. I love that because we always taught in many of these, for those that have been on programs, I'm sure you can connect to this. What's your value proposition, right? What's the business model canvas? What's your why and your purpose? And those are important. But then again, it's following the pack, the rat pack, I want to call it,
Oh, that's
because
cool. I like that. That's
everybody,
very cool. Rat pack.
yeah, we can latch onto that. But who says you do need to have everything in that sequence? And who says money is the only success factor, right? Money is an enabler and it's energy and we need it. We need it to take care of ourselves and our families. But when I leave this earthly realm, I want to know that the business that I have done or built has also served in a way. Now, for the florist, it doesn't mean that they're selling the flowers. They're not serving. I mean, flowers, what does it symbolize? It brings joy, it brings happiness, it brightens up a home. And there's maybe a story behind the florist that is selling flowers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That should be okay to them. And it shouldn't be, okay, now do you want to become a franchise and you want to scale this to nationally and to so many provinces and so many sites or stores or pop-up venues? No. So I'm starting to question again, do I need to follow the rat packs out there? And in your article, you had something about, I told you, I want to read this line. It's a clusterfuck of emotion, pressure, excitement, fear, possibility, exhaustion, and belief all happening at the same time, right? But what if we set aside the rat pack and really zoom in and laser focus on what is it that you need to own? And what is it that you want to leave when you do finally leave this business? Because most businesses don't last for the very reason that they're trying to either follow a trend, they're not true, they're not authentic to themselves. Because you are right, in a lot of the owners I coach, they can't articulate for the most part why they're in this business. They really can't. Right? So again, I think we need to discern why are we starting businesses and what is the lifestyle. Remember, you had said this on one of the segments
Yeah.
we had. Entrepreneurship is a lifestyle, and what does that lifestyle need to be and look and feel like for you and your immediate family?
Yeah, what is my lifestyle? Look, a lot of, we can't discount business owners that are saying, Brad, we've got to put food on the table. And I have to show up in a certain way to make that happen. I totally get that. We just can't get caught up in it. We can't let it become a rat king. We have to understand that if you're saying to me, you need to drive around in a £1 million car, wear a certain watch because that's the space you play in as a business owner. That's fine, but that shouldn't then become something you carry. It shouldn't be something that defines you purely as a business owner. I don't agree with that. I think it's unhealthy relationship with the client if you're forced to have to show up in a certain way other than in your natural professional self. This is who I am. I am professional. I know what I'm doing, and I will show up like this because this allows me to be better at what I do. Because a lot of the people out there that I have, business owners specifically, that do show up with all the pomp and ceremony, are not really effective. They are preoccupied. They're rat kings. So, one of the big things for me, and this becomes part of, because we've got a half an hour left of the recording, becomes the hopeful part, is it's just letting go of old definitions. We're seeing it now in the world where, as the old order is starting to die, people are starting to question what is the new definition of being a good politician? What is the new definition of being a good leader, a good spiritual leader? We're even seeing, the Pope being under scrutiny and, being questioned, and seeing how he's trying to redefine his role as a spiritual head of an incredibly big religious movement. And we're not just seeing it in that space, we're seeing it across all religions, we're seeing it across business, this redefinition. So this is a wonderful time to, and if you are listening to this in your car, or you're busy doing something and this is playing in the background, use this next few minutes to just kind of look up and go, how do I show up? And is this the way I want to show up? And is this resonate with my customer? And if you can answer yes to those questions, you're already on a winning track because you're not carrying anything. And the other thing is, I feel people don't evolve quickly. The world is moving at such a rapid pace that actually, somebody yesterday said it. I was at an event, and they said it in passing, that you don't know what you're going to wake up to from a business perspective the next morning. The whole world can go to hell in a handbasket. So, it's this being able to evolve and accepting evolution and understanding that things are shifting and we need to shift with that. But when we do fall into that space, we need to shift closer towards who we are organically and what is our divine purpose here as business owners, and examine and explore that. And that's the kind of journey I have been on. And I have had pushback where people have said, yeah, but being a business owner is not a divine entity. It's a decision you made in a material space. And my answer is no. I have a purpose on this planet, and I am living my purpose. I feel it with every fiber of my being. And through my purpose, I am able to myself grow and become more enlightened and calmer and untangled, as well as the people that I work with. And I think that's incredibly powerful. So if you are in a space where you feel like you're carrying a lot of baggage, a key trigger to identify whether or not you're a rat king is just in this space right now. Take stock of how are you feeling right now. If your shoulders are tense, if you're worried about something happening in a week's time, or even in 3 or 4 days' time, if you've got headaches, if you're unhealthy, if your body is not in sync, if your body is not healthy, and it will tell you, then you're a rat king.
Noted. I can say to you that I needed to get still to firstly connect to what you've just said we need to do. Tap into, what am I feeling? What am I worrying about? What am I trying to control too much? Because control is another rat king. So there are many rat kings, right? And I know we said we want to get into the hope part of this conversation. There's definitely hope, right? But I do want to say that if you do not go and understand the rat kings that is ruling your life, you're going to be brought to your knees. And it's not a bad thing, actually. We need to be brought to our knees with feeling like we have no more answers, and that illusion of control that we
Yeah.
thought we had
Yeah.
just immediately wakes us up, slaps us, and says, "Well, your usual resourcefulness, your belief around certain things, your thinking around things, your way you respond." I almost want to say react, because the rat kings put you in a reactive mode, not in a responsive mode. You're not free. If my understanding is
100%.
correct, you're not free if you have
100%.
rat kings, multiple rat kings, the rat pack, right?
The rat pack, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So for
So,
me, Brad, I just want to say in response to that is that I had to ask myself some hard questions, and same for the entrepreneurs, holding up that mirror to them. When you are in survival, right? That's when you have the rat king that is taking center stage.
true, true.
When we are in judgment, another rat king. The
Yeah.
judgment is also the egoic side that I think you referred to in your article.
Yeah. Yeah. I did
Um,
write about that.
yeah, it's moving from that ego and from appearance and from attachment.
Yeah.
But the judgment, that self-loathing part, that inner critic, that imposter syndrome, is another rat king.
Yeah.
So I don't know from your perspective, Brad. Have you ever felt like an imposter running your business?
I still do when the business really doesn't do well, and I've had so much experience under my belt.
Mm,
I do feel like I'm not a good business owner. And I say to myself sometimes, I'm not a great business owner. If I was a great business owner, I would have this big property and I'd have all these people working for me. And, I defined my being a good business owner by external values.
mm,
But I have pivoted this business so many times when we've been in tough times that I do believe I am good at what I do. So I do get it now and again, but a lot less. And I've become a lot more calmer. I think one of the big things, and someone actually said this to me 2 years ago. I was sitting, if I can remember correctly, it was Cape Town, and I was probably in a pub because that's what you do in Cape Town. But I remember clearly this guy was sitting there, I didn't know who it was. And somebody asked, a very successful human being, successful in spiritual insight, beautiful person, shows up, but also ran successful businesses, a few of them. And somebody asked him, how was your day? And he said, great. And they said, what did you do? And he said, I actually didn't do much today. And I walked away so like, this guy doesn't work. What the hell? He's not invested. And you get the movies. The movies is you wake up, you train in the morning, you eat your perfect breakfast, you jump in your expensive car, you get to the office, it's this go, 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 go. But actually it's the opposite of that. When you're outside of the rat king, things become incredibly calm for you. You're always in a space of making proactive decisions, even if somebody does something to you and you have to absorb that and react to it. You're doing it in a way from a space of complete calmness. You don't lose your temper. You don't make ad hoc, irrational decisions. You're not trying to murder someone in Joburg or Cape Town traffic. You're pretty calm at the checkers paid till when they've got 6 tills and only 2 people working,
mm.
And when you do want to stand up and complain, or you do want to do something, you do it from a space of integrity, honesty, and strength, and no one challenges you. That's when I believe I'm not a rat king. But when I'm a
Absolutely.
business owner and I freaking hate getting up in the morning and I'm hustling, bada, 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 yeah, I've got two, three, four cell phones in my hand and it becomes complicated and I can't do bank transfers, then I lose my cool and then I'm in traffic and I'm rushed and my car's all over the place and my kids are unhappy and my relationship with my partner is terrible, then I'm rat king.
Mm, mm.
And you
Granted,
don't have to be.
I have said that I need to move from hustle to harmony, right? Because if I'm in harmony, I'm in alignment, right? And if I'm in alignment, I'm not needing to beg, please show up to have credibility, uh, beg for business or oversell myself because I'm in alignment. I am free from those rat kings where I feel I now need to prove my worth and value. And now I'm not saying don't go pitch for business, right? But what
Mm,
energy and what rat king is leading when you are pitching, right? And that's the other thing. I have in your dry season that you've had for the 2 months, you know, I've had my 3 months of a dry season. And a lot of people said to me, go and get a job, just go get a job. And so, yes, I could go and find the safe bet, but this is not just about a job and a means to an income or a means to an end for me. This has never been about why I started this business, right? For me, it was always around knowing what I'm building, who I'm serving, the impact that I want to leave, so that legacy that I'm cultivating.
mm,
So now the shift is being, hey, I need to control how many people I'm one pitching to. How many conversations am I having? Hey, you'll need to have so many conversations in a day to, hey, you need to be applying for jobs. You need to be doing both, Aneesa, because this is what
mm.
people are saying, right?
Yeah, I
And
do.
then I
Yeah.
just paused. I paused and I was like, I'm sorry to hell with this. I even had to stay true to people that are very close to me and they mean well, that have sent me jobs. And I've had to say to them, thank you for sending it, but it's not aligned.
Mm,
So until we know how we are aligned to our values, as you said, with to your integrity, your values, your principles, you're going to continue having the rat kings and the rat pack following you. But until you can say, no, I'm not applying to those jobs because it doesn't resonate. Or no, this position hasn't come through or has come through. And you may need to make a
mm,
decision and say, it doesn't work for me. Or
mm,
the opportunity that came and you have to say no. And you can't say no to it back. You know your worth and your value, and you're not going to sell below your price bracket because that's another
mm,
ranking. You know, the
mm,
relationship with money and the worthiness and belief you have around money.
mm.
And yet, when you're in a hustle, when the hustle ranking is on your back, you're going to say yes to any form of income.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's saying no.
it's very true.
So, how do we
Yeah,
walk
that's
away with that?
yeah, it's true. You know, and I, it's so difficult to do though, hey, Anissa. You know, when you on a, you know, it's also depends where your upbringing and the trials and tribulations you've been through as a human being, and you know, like you have a very different background growing up than maybe what I've had. You know, we have two different aspects. And I've come across many, many people who have used the argument, though, that, you know, the hustle gives them the reassurance that they're making it in life. And it's just all so untrue and so fake. And it's crazy. You know, you just have to open up your social media, any platform, any channel, and you're being reminded one post to the other, one reel to the other, one video to the other, how you must show up to be this. It's exhausting. I can't. I just can't. I can show up as Brad, and that's what I can do. And we have turned down work as a business because we've known that this is not going to be good for us. And when we spoke earlier in backstage, when I said to you when we were prepping, you know, we're a Rastafarian agency. You know, we open at 8:30, we close at 4, And, we continue with our day. And the reason why we structured it like that is because we wanted a quality of life. It's all good and well building this multi-million rand business, but to sit and cry with me at the table because you haven't seen your kids grow up is not worth that money. And we just saw it. I mean, Gary Player spoke about it in an interview where he said his biggest regret was not being with these kids. He had to travel for his career. He's a phenomenal human being. He had a beautiful career, and I believe he's an incredibly kind human being. But he now lives with the Rat King around his relationship with his children. So, you inherit all this money from your dad when he passes, and you just don't have a single memory of just being with that person. And I think, we have to take a step back and go, it's okay to realize that for some of us, that is more important for us. And we will drive a 20 or 30-year-old car because doing this is far more important. And showing up in this way for us is far more important. And if you're going to judge me for driving a 20-year-old car because I want to use that money to spend more time with my kids, to write it off against my hours, then do I really want you as a client? Because the client has to show up as well. And this is where the concern sits. If you're in a space of hustle, you're not allowing the space for your client to step up. You're giving your client an excuse to be an asshole. And that is why we have walked away from our clients, because we've done that over and over again. We've sat in meetings where you get so much butterflies in your tummy that you sit the rest of the day with a tummy ache because the client is just not a good person and does not show up in the way that you want to. So it's just crazy for me that I sometimes feel, Aneesa, that I look at what's happening globally and I'm so grateful to be where I am, to be here in South Africa with good people. I don't think I would have coped being in New York or Washington or London.
Yeah, I think that's another Rat King. We think the grass is greener on the other side. And so the aspiration or the vision is, hey, I want to grow and I want to scale and maybe, move out of South Africa. But what are you measuring it against, right? I I wanna just come back to, what is in my face here all the time. In my face is this image that you have on this article.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
this image is so thought-provoking, and it
yeah.
evokes so
Yeah. So
much
she's feeling
within me. And when I look at this image, for those that are listening in on the podcast, please, when you can find the time to go find Brad's article on LinkedIn, find it because it's a provocative image that really those are the Rat Kings, it's the fear, it's the expectations, it's past
yeah,
experiences, it's
yeah,
trauma, it's ego, it's identity, it's survival, it's the what ifs. Yeah, wait for it. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm definitely a recovering perfectionist and the thief of comparison. Those are all part of what's
yeah,
sitting there, and it just provokes so much emotion within me because, and I'm going to be real here with all of you, is that part of this I'm almost untangling even in this moment as we
yeah, me
speak,
too.
because
Yeah,
December, Jan, and Feb, it was when there was no income. I was like, what am I holding on to? Am I seeking perfection, validation? What exactly am I wanting here? And am I
yeah,
okay with not being okay? Am I okay with not having it all together or showing up in the world as if, hey, I need this, the rising phoenix. She will
mm,
figure this out. She will rise from the ashes,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
there's an egoic attachment to even that, showing up perfect and being the reliable one. There's some comments there, Brad, from our audience. I don't know if you want to read them.
Yeah. So we've got a few comments in. We'll pick it up. I think they were all agreeing that it's really, really true around entrepreneurship and enjoying the entrepreneurship and enjoying the space. And I mean, that's just the general feel of what I'm seeing on screen. But um, it's actually my dad. My dad said to me when I was much younger and very gung ho. I mean, I hit business ownership at 28. I was 28, 29, thereabout. And I hit it hard and I pushed for most of my 30s and really became rat king, became so entangled in, oh, I missed this opportunity. Oh, I'm still struggling. Oh, my, the business hasn't grown to this space or, oh, and then as I got older, I started to pay attention to people who were in their twilight of the years as business owners and slowly dying off, going into the wilderness, so to speak. And we had a client, a very dear client. His name was John. And John and I used to have a lot of conversations together beyond our work. And John was a business owner. And John was talking about, my retirement is, I had to stay in business a little bit longer because the business wasn't doing well. But he's happy to stay young. It keeps him young. And he's looking forward to retirement because he's had lots of kids and grandkids, and that's what he will be doing. And he couldn't wait. And about 3 days later, he passed away. And that really triggered me. That really, really, really triggered me because, and it wasn't just John. It's so many older business owners that are starting to realize, and many I work with, to say, what the hell did I do that for? I ended up here anyway. So why did I worry about that? And actually, it was someone, I was doing a lecture, a guest lecturing at Wits, and they came back and somebody asked me, what would you tell your younger self if you had to tell your younger self something? And to this day, Aneesa, I can't think of a single line I would tell myself in terms of business ownership. But I see my youngest brother now in business and learning business and how he stresses. And I keep saying to him, what will be, will be. Just allow. And I mean, it's that old adage that if you go and sit at the beach and you watch surfers, a surfer knows that he's going to take a wave, but he never truly knows what kind of ride he's going to get. But he just keeps going back every day into the surf, keeps monitoring, looking for the right conditions, but there's still a risk that he's not going to get a decent ride. But when he does, and he's able to fall into that tube, put up his hand and touch the water, then magic happens. He does not remember the million other bad rides he had.
No.
And that is where I am, and that's what triggered the Rat King. It's so unnecessary.
Yeah. Those stories just touched a nerve for me as well, because is it really worth the bad relationship with your kids because you're feeling all anxious and stressed and or screaming at them if they're not doing a certain thing in a certain way because you're stressed? And is it really worth not or shutting people out? Because one of the things that I tend to do, Brad, is I isolate. That radical independent is another rat king, right? I'm not going to ask anyone because everybody knows me to figure it all out. How dare I ask anyone for anything? I'm the go-to person. And then I sit here thinking, if I had to be now, I want to go in reverse with that question. If I fast forward to my elder self, not to my younger self.
Fair enough, yeah.
Like if I fast forward 20 years from now and I'm version 6.7, Am I going to ask myself, am I going to be pleased with the way I showed up? What wisdom would I go and capture from my older self? Because that story of Gary Player, of the other gentleman that said he's going to start living life, and many others that say that, and then it's too late.
Yeah,
So
so
I think
true.
I don't want to ask the question of my younger self. My younger self doesn't necessarily have the wisdom to tap into.
Mm.
But if I fast forward and say I'm in my 60s, I think it would be a very different conversation, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I do. Look, my perspective on a business owner's life is I don't think we'll ever stop being business owners. You know, I think I look, I wouldn't encourage it. I think owning a business and staying in business, you know, right through into your twilight years, there's something beautiful about that. It's like it's seeing a well-aged person that has just accepted age and accepted life and is just living. I feel like your business deserves that part of you in your twilight years because you will bring something into that business your younger team would not be able to pull together. But in saying that, I, you know, I just look, I was watching this clip, how in the US, people are coming and attacking the Republican Congress people, not congressmen, people. And, you know, as they leave the offices, they're coming up and asking them questions and holding them accountable, which in a way is a good thing. But I look at how they're doing it. It's so much anger
Mm,
and so much burning of vital energy and degrading the human person as a human being. I look at that kind of life and politics and movement we have globally where we need to pick on what the person looks like in order to prove a point.
mm,
And I see it here where a business owner feels that if they don't show up in a certain way, that they are going to not get the job. But I want to reassure anyone listening to this now, show up as yourself because you will get the work that resonates with you and your business.
mm,
If you show up in any other way, you're going to be rat king because you're going to be constantly having to live up to an expectation that is
mm,
just very difficult to pull through. And you're just going to make yourself tired and miserable.
mm,
And, you know, learn what that means. Showing up in your authentic self is absolutely vital. And I actually wrote about it previously in one of the previous pieces. And I was so chuffed with it. I actually read over it quite often. So yeah, I mean, I think Aneesa, I think we should think less and
mm.
just wait for the right wave. It's that simple, isn't it?
It is as simple as that.
Just show
It
up
is
and wait and
align.
try every single wave. And if it doesn't work for you, kill it. If it works for you, try it. If it still doesn't go through, get back into the surf. Show up every day. Just be consistent. Be you. Ride your board the way you do. Don't worry about other people around you. Don't get entangled in other people's nonsense and other people's perceptions and angers and issues. And I think life could be really, it could be great. I think it could be calm and easy.
So I wanna just respond. I know we've got 6 minutes of this conversation
Yeah.
remaining, but I feel authenticity is definitely a superpower. And once you are almost, it's a reclamation of that authentic self. If you can go and reclaim that sovereign self that you've always been, you will lead your business from a different vantage point because you'll give yourself more grace in the moment and you'll give yourself more empathy and compassion and be kinder to yourself. You don't need to always be busy. You don't have to take on the noise. You don't have to have these different personas to show up for these clients in a certain way. Because you've said it well, Brad. If they do not resonate with you, just imagine what that relationship would unfold. It would be multiple rat kings from both sides. You're going to be taking on their rat kings along with your own rat kings, and then that rat pack is just multiplied
No.
and it's on steroids. That relationship will not drive transformation. It will not even get to amplification of any form of transformation for both you and what you're serving them with. So I do want to say that know what you need to lead with, because ultimately all of this, if the rat kings aren't leading you, you are leading self in a way that comes from a place from radical self-awareness. And I always say we've got to name it to tame it, but not to shame it. Name the rat kings,
Yeah,
name
that's
them,
it.
call
Love
them
that.
out,
Yeah.
but really accept parts of, because Brad, let's face it, those versions of ourselves, they they served us at one. Those rat kings, they served us to some extent until they don't anymore. And I suppose for me, that's where the awareness part comes in, is that when it does show up, you got to really get raw and real and unfiltered and call you, call yourself out on your bullshit, right?
Mm.
In the
Mm.
same way that you need to call your clients out on their bullshit and say what is non-negotiable. There's a couple of that going online at the moment on LinkedIn and the socials around some of the larger corporates, and I'm not going to mention any names on some of the
Okay.
rankings, right? But it is
Yeah, I
about
think
you.
it's this muscling out, this ego that comes along. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I do believe that, you know, you wake up in the morning and you look forward to a beautiful day. And what does that actually mean for you? If you are rat king at the moment and you need a way out, you don't have to eat your own tail or, kill someone else or do something for survival. What you got to do is you got to go through introspection process. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just to say, sit back, ask yourself, when I wake up tomorrow morning and I describe my day as a beautiful day, what does that mean for me?
Mm-hmm.
It could mean many things for many different people. But if you wake up in your morning and you're able to describe a calm, beautiful day for you as a human being that does not intentively negatively affect other people. So you're not going to wake up and say, for me, a beautiful day is to mass murder 6 people, but rather today is a beautiful day because I am looking forward to the new clients coming my way and to
Mm-hmm.
the abundance that I'm going to live in. And I'm looking forward to seeing my kids at 2 o'clock for coffee. And I'm looking forward to watching my kids play hockey at 3. And the reasons why we are in business is for that time. So
Yeah.
that is one way. Yeah, that's one way I've looked at it. And it's worked so far for me. It's taking time to turn things around, but I do things
Mm-hmm.
believe even in this time of chaos and us trying to get through 2 difficult months, I still wake up thinking, God, what a beautiful day. And that's the
Yeah.
difference between me now and me in my 30s.
I can relate to that because for me now, it is about embodying the affirmation and taking action with it. It's one
Yeah,
thing saying an affirmation and it's all positive and reinforcing and rah rah, if you want to call it that. But if you cannot embody it and live it and actually step into that affirmation that you're calling out is going to happen, then you're just living a lie. So I do
yeah,
want to say, if you are truly embodying that version of yourself, which means that you don't need to be busy all the time. It's different things for all people. Your holistic habits that leads you to that embodied leadership is different for each person. In the same way, like your purpose and your why is different.
yeah,
So for
yeah,
me, Brad, it is practicing what I preach and moving away from lip service and letting go and letting be and trusting and surrendering and letting go of the control, because control is a big thing which we all love to think
Amen.
we have.
Amen. Yeah.
We're on
Amen.
the top of the hour, my friend.
Yeah, so this will be the end of, again, just to circle back about why we do it this way is, we do these recordings live. For those who want to join and comment and share, we're doing this with the intention of building a nice online community where we can have open discussions. But really and truly, if you are listening to this audio via either Spotify or one of our social channels, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If this resonates with you, please share, comment, come and join us, have a conversation with us. Aneesa, thank you as always for giving up your time. You are such a busy person, and I just appreciate this. And yeah, I think, I look forward to our next discussion. I'll be writing my piece next week, and I've already got something quite nice. It's also going to be a bit hardcore, but I'm looking forward to getting it out.
I beg nothing less. Thank you for those that have listened in, tuned in, watched. I haven't acknowledged those that are here on some of the socials, but we appreciate you being here. And yeah, do send us any questions. And if you want to connect with either Brad or myself, you're welcome to do so and unpack some of your rack keys that you may want to unpack, and let us hold that space for you. So I'm going to end the conversation on our side now, Brad, and then do stay with me.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.